Hey everybody, welcome back to Heart Breathings. Today we are going to talk about how to crush your writing goals. Okay, so today we're going to talk about 5 steps that you can take to start really crushing your writing goals. I know that some of you are here as writers who are really struggling to either finish your first book, or you're setting these huge goals for yourself, like you want to write X number of books per year, or you've got a number of words that you want to hit per day, and it's just been a struggle. So I'm going to show you just 5 quick steps that have helped me to begin to really crush my writing goals, and these are very important. Some of them are tough lessons to learn, but hopefully you'll stick around and listen to these 5 steps and really take them to heart if you have some big goals that you've been hoping to accomplish in your writing. So I talk about this a lot, but step number 1 is to know what you really want. So before you can step out and really motivate yourself and push yourself to hit big goals, because let's face it, long-term goals like how much writing you're going to do, or even finishing a novel, which can sometimes take people years, or you might learn to do it in months. It doesn't really matter what your specific process is, but writing a book is not easy. Writing an entire series is, infinitely harder. So these are big things that you're taking on. These are things that there are hundreds of thousands of people out there who say, I'm going to write a book, and then they never do it. And it's because it's hard. So before you take on and tackle this really big goal of doing something that a lot of people just simply cannot do, know what it is that you want out of it. What genre do you truly want to be writing? What do you want to do with this book? Maybe your only goal right now is just, I want to finish something and see if it's any good. And that's totally fine too. But you just need to understand from the start why you're doing this, what it is that you're trying to achieve by doing it. Because when you don't know why you're doing something or what the end result is that you're hoping for, it gets really tough when you get into those hard places when the book isn't coming and you're in the middle, or you can't figure out the ending and the plot isn't coming, or the characters aren't talking to you. It gets really hard to motivate yourself, especially if you don't really know why you're writing in the first place. Like, you have no real goal, you have no real why, no reason why you're doing this. You don't know what your end result is, so it gets hard to motivate yourself. But if you know, for example, like, I want to write this book, I want to finish this book, or I want to write these 5 book series so that I can start publishing, so that I can send my son to this really great private school. If that was your goal, if that's your reason why, and you get really clear on why you're doing this, then when it gets hard, you can easily say to yourself, okay, do I really want to send my son to this school? He's really struggling with the school that he's in. Wouldn't I love to move into a nicer neighborhood? Or wouldn't I really love to help my husband be able to quit his job that he hates? Or whatever it is your goal is, wouldn't I love to be able to pay a few bills in the house and help out? We would love to go on more vacations. We would love to travel more often, or I would really, really like to have something of my own that makes me feel like I'm making a difference in the world. I would really love to have a group of fans that feels like a community. Whatever it is that you decide is your reason why you're doing this and what you want to get out of it, when you hit those tough spots, it's going to be easier to either look at a vision board where you've got those things laid out, or look, into your heart and say, this is why I want this. This is hard, but I'm going to not binge watch Netflix tonight. I'm going to actually sit down and do this because this is what I want. When you don't set that clear reason or have a clear destination in mind and know exactly what you want out of writing, it can get really tough to motivate yourself through the hard parts. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 in crushing your goals is a really tough one, even still for me, is to set realistic goals. And yes, okay, now I understand that we all want to push ourselves a little bit harder. I know for me personally, if I set something super easy, and I say, I'm going to write 500 words in a week, or something that feels really simple, then I don't get motivated, because I'm somebody who is very self-motivated when it comes to like pushing myself harder. But if I say I'm going to write 40,000 words in a week, then I'm just setting myself up for failure, because there's just very, very small chance that unless I work nonstop and completely burn myself out, I'm probably not going to write 40,000 words in a week. So I have to be somewhere in the middle, something that is big enough or stretch enough to motivate me, to make me feel like I'm accomplishing something that really pushes me forward, that really moves my goals in the right direction, that is significant change, like I've made a significant step forward, but that is realistic enough that I can actually achieve it, because it's so often that we think, okay, we're going to set this word count writing goal for ourselves. I'm going to finish this book in 1 month or whatever it is that we set. But we don't look at the whole picture to be realistic. We don't look at exactly how many days we have this month to write. We don't look at what other things are going to be pulling on our attention. Like this weekend, on Friday, I have a lunch with my son at his school. Next week, we have a teacher's meeting with her. I also have some birthday parties to attend this weekend, and then there's spring break at the end of March. So it's like you have to start taking all of those things into consideration, because if you just say, oh, I've got 31 days and I'm going to write 4,000 words a day, then I know I'm going to get X amount of words. You're not really looking in a realistic manner, because even though you can maybe write 4,000 words in a day, that has to be like a perfect day. That's your best day. Days when you're going to be out with your children, or you have family visiting, or it's spring break, or, and truthfully, we all get sick sometimes. We have headaches. We don't feel like working. Something happens, like the tire goes out on the car and you have to spend the whole day at the mechanic. Things happen. And if you don't leave white space in your schedule for those kind of emergencies or for the actual life to take place, then you're just setting yourself up for failure. Every single day cannot be your best day. It's just not going to happen like that. And if you set yourself up for, I'm going to have my best day every single day, most likely you're setting yourself up for failure. And the problem with this is not so much that, okay, you're not going to hit your goal. The problem really is mental. Because what happens is you get 3 days into the month, and instead of having written those 12,000 words you were hoping for, you've only gotten 3. And then 4 days into the month, you're only at 4,000 words, and you're 4 days behind or whatever. And the more you get behind, the more you start to panic, and the more stress you start to put on your heart, on your brain, on your body. And it just becomes harder and harder to actually perform when you know you're so behind that it's like, okay, now you don't just have to have your best day. You have to have your best day times 12 and be like yourself on steroids in order to catch up or have any hope of actually achieving this goal. And when you get behind so early in the month, it just feels hopeless. And so it would be so much better, trust me on this, if you would say, okay, here's how many days are in the month. Here's the days that I'm not going to be on my best, because I know I'm not going to be on my best. I've got a parent-teacher conference. I've got a trip to the beach this weekend. We've got spring break this entire week. So that narrows me down to about 20 working days for the month. I'm not going to assume that I'm going to be my best. Say my best day is 4,000 words. I won't say 20 times 4,000 words, because that would be expecting me to be at my best. But maybe I'll go halfway and say, okay, I'm going to work 20 days this week and try to set a goal of 2,000 words per day. So 20 times 2,000 means that your goal for this month is to get 40,000 words. And if you can get 40,000 words, you're going to be a success. Now, there's nobody telling you that you can't go above and beyond that and get more like 60,000 words if you have a few more of those like amazing days. But this sets you up with a realistic expectation so that if you do fall behind a couple days in of that like best day 4,000 word goal, you're still actually right on track, because you were still hitting that very kind of reasonable goal of 2,000 words. And it may look different for you. Your reasonable goal on a daily basis may only be 400 words, and that's fine too. You cannot start where somebody else is. You can't start where you wish you were. You have to start and meet yourself exactly where you are. And the more you judge yourself for where you are, and the more you compare yourself to other people, the more you're setting yourself up for failure and for those mental traps that keep you from crushing your goals. If you truly want to crush your goals, set realistic expectations for yourself. So step number 3 to crushing your writing goals is to make a plan. So if you're new to this channel, you don't know this yet, but if you've been watching me for a while, you know that I am definitely a planner person. So I love plans. I love putting them down on paper, but it's not just that, oh, it's a hobby of mine and I enjoy planning. It really is useful, and you really do need to do this. So if you want to crush your writing goals, you have to have some kind of plan. And remember in the last step how I was taking those like numbers and I was saying, I've got this many days, I'm going to try to write like my average word count is this, taking those actual numbers and statistics and data is important to setting a plan that's realistic. So what do you do if you don't have that data? Let's say you're a new writer, or you're someone who's been writing for a while, but you've never really taken the time to like be consistent and say, I can write X amount of words per day. Well, you can make it a project or a goal for yourself in this next month to start to learn those kind of numbers. So what you could do is you could say, I'm going to set aside an hour every single day and I'm going to write. You could try different times of day to see when you write best. So you could say, for this week, I'm going to try 1 hour every single morning at 7 a.m. and I'm going to see how I do. You keep track. This is where you're going to need a notebook. So pull out one of those notebooks and join the HB Notebook Challenge, which I'll link for you down below if you're interested. But you could keep track of it in a notebook, start writing down, okay, I'm going to write from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day. And, say you start tracking it and you realize at 7 a.m. you get about 1,000 words a day on average. Then you're going to try for a week 3 p.m. Okay, when I, pick up my son from school, I'm going to come home and I'm going to write for an hour after he gets home while he's like playing with his toys in his room. So you're going to write from 3 to 4 p.m. 3 to 4 p.m., you're a little bit more distracted. So your average is only more like 600 words per day. Now you have more information that you're a better writer in the mornings than you are in the distracted afternoons. So the next week, maybe try, I'm going to write in the evenings after dinner instead of sitting down to watch TV. I'm going to sit down from 8 to 9 p.m. after my kids are in bed, and I am going to, sorry, I know I'm like keep talking about kids, but this is my life. So if you don't have kids, set your own schedule. Maybe you're in college and you're going to say, after I finish my homework from 11 to 12, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write at night. So you sit down and you see, oh my gosh, from 11 to 12 or from 8 to 9 p.m. in the evenings, I'm so tired by that point, I'm getting hardly any words. I'm only averaging like 300 words per night. So in that case, if you were that person and you would look at those 3 times, you would say, okay, morning time is my time. Now you've got that data that's going to help you begin to really hone in on when your best writing time is, when you perform best. And that's going to help you hit your writing goals, because instead of like, let's say you were trying to write every night before bed and you were only getting 300 words a day and you were starting to get frustrated by only writing, 3,000 to 6,000 words per month. Well, now you've learned that if you can get up every morning just a little bit earlier and write in the morning, you can get 5,000 words per week. So now you're starting to get more like 20,000 words. You have just more than quadrupled your output for the month, because instead of getting 3,000 or 6,000 words, you're getting 20,000 words. You've just exponentially improved the number of words you can write per month. So sometimes making that plan and coming up with a strategy to figure out your process can be one of the most powerful things you can do. Now, let's say you're somebody who's been writing for quite a while and you kind of know this is your time to write. Like, that from 5 to 6 p.m. every night before dinner, this is your best, like, perfect time to write. So you've already figured that out. So part of my process is, I have this 90-day plan, and I decide when it comes to my writing goals, I always have at least one writing goal. So you can see kind of piece of my Kanban board over there where I've got the dark blue kind of on the far side there. That is my writing goal. So what I do is I have every 90 days a specific writing goal of how much I want to get done. But I don't just say, I'm going to write 40,000 words this month and leave it at that. I have an actual plan, and that helps me to meet my goals because it's very specific. And the more specific you can get, the easier it is to not only motivate yourself, but to actually follow through with it, because you know when you're going to be writing, why you're writing, what you're writing, and all of those sorts of things. So you're not wasting time going, I don't know when I'm going to write today. You kind of already know, because you have it mapped out in your 90-day plan, when you're going to write. So part of my plan always involves, what times a day am I going to write? Usually I have a specific time to write during the week and something different on the weekends. So I know how many hours I'm going to be able to dedicate. So if you have a full-time job, you may have specific times either early in the morning, on your lunch break, or sometime in the afternoon or evenings when you know every single day of the week you can sit down and write. So even if it's 20 minutes or if it's an hour and a half, you can set aside that time. And your schedule may be different. Like Mondays, you've got an hour. Tuesday, you have 2 hours, no time on Wednesdays, and etc. But if you can kind of map that out, then you can have a very clear picture of how many hours you're going to be able to work throughout the week. So once you know when you're going to write, you may even want to go so far as to say where you're going to write. That can be a big part of your plan. Another part of my plan that is usually very important to me is that I also plan rewards for myself. Setting yourself rewards and making that part of your plan, whether you make it a daily reward, a weekly reward, a monthly reward, doesn't matter. It's just what motivates you. That can also be something that can help you to crush your writing goals. Step number 4 is to stay focused. And this is one where you're probably like, yes, Sarah, duh, I know I need to stay focused, but how in the world do I do it? Well, I do have a video that I will link down below for you on ways to stay focused or how to write when you don't feel like it, those kinds of things. So I have a couple of videos on that I'll link for you down below. But also just know this, like, the steps that you've taken so far are going to help you stay focused. You know exactly why you're doing this, what your outcome is that you're hoping to achieve. You know when you're supposed to write. You've been realistic about it. When you set these huge goals, it gets so much harder to stay focused because it's like, okay, I'm already 30,000 words behind. You set realistic goals and suddenly you become motivated to actually get it done. So trust me when I say the first 3 steps are going to help you to stay more focused. But another thing is as writers, we have lots and lots of different ideas. When things get really tough with the writing, we have a tendency, a lot of us, maybe not all of you, but I know it happens to me and it happens to a lot of us, where you start to say, this is getting too hard. Maybe this isn't the right story. Maybe this isn't what I should be working on right now. And then those plot bunnies start kind of hopping into the picture where it's like, oh, but look at this new shiny idea. And, this dystopian thing would be really cool. Or what about this mystery? And you then go and watch a movie and you're like inspired now to write science fiction. And you start to get distracted and you allow yourself to kind of slide off of your commitment that this is the book I'm working on, and maybe you work on something else. One of the number one things that can make us do that, slide off the focus and the commitment, is the fact that the book got hard. And this is where a lot of people begin to fail, because when you even if you've got the whole thing plotted, there almost inevitably for all of us comes a point in the writing where it just gets hard. The characters aren't talking to you. The plot isn't coming together the way you wanted. And the best advice I can have for you is just push through. It doesn't have to be perfect in the first draft. You just have to keep writing. So staying focused at this critical point is one of the hardest things, but it's also one of the most important things you can do. If you want to crush your writing goals, you have to learn to stay focused when the writing gets tough. It's not an easy thing to hear. You want some kind of sure thing, straight bullet through to, how you're going to finish this and stay focused. But the truth is, this is why a lot of people can't be writers. This is why a lot of people fail. But this is why you're not going to fail, because you're going to keep at it. All you have to do is take that plan that you made that, hey, I'm going to be writing for this many minutes on this day, and this is where I'm going to do it. And you just sit down and you keep trying. Just keep letting words flow. Even if you're just talking to yourself and brainstorming, well, what if she went into this cafe and there was a murderer there and it gave her this clue and it did this thing? Okay, that's stupid. I'm not going to do that. You can just free write. Free brainstorm, push yourself through it. You can say, you know what, I'm not sure exactly where this story's going, but I had this idea that maybe these characters are going to take a road trip to DC. So you just start writing that. If it doesn't feel right, start writing something else. But the thing is, you have to just keep going. If you allow yourself, when the writing gets tough and you start to get distracted and you've been working on this so long and it feels like it's not coming together, that's when it's crucial, because it means you're very close to making a breakthrough. And you have to stay focused. And sometimes it's going to be a matter of almost forcing yourself to stay focused, but you have to do it. And like I said, following those early steps of knowing why, setting the realistic goals, and making that plan is going to help you stay focused. You could even try having some kind of accountability partner when you run into this trouble, like meeting somebody else online, or having a friend that you trust, or having your parents or your husband or your best friend that you have to say to them every day, here's how many words I wrote. Yes, I got it done. Have somebody checking in with you so you've got that accountability if you need it. Maybe find another writer so that you're both holding each other accountable, or find a writing group online. But this is the crucial time to stay focused, because if you allow yourself to say, this is getting too hard, I think I'm just going to turn on Netflix, you're not going to crush your writing goals. You have to stay focused and get it done. The final tip that I have for you, the final step that I have for you, is one of the toughest ones, and this is more tough love, but you have to stop making excuses. One of the number one things that I see people see happening with people that just haven't finished their books and can never get through is that they're constantly making excuses. And one of the biggest excuses is, I just don't have time. And, I understand that life is tough, that we're all in different situations. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have full-time job and you're putting yourself through college, or you may have 2 jobs. Everybody has different situations, and I understand that. But we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and it's up to you to find the places where you can make your writing a priority. When you just don't have a plan, you don't really know when you're going to do it, then every time you get home and you've been working all day and you're tired, you're just not going to feel like it. That's going to happen over and over and over. And I know some of you have been stuck in that rut for years, because I talk to people all the time where they say, I just don't have time. And then I'll start to talk to them about what their schedule is like. And you find out that actually between the hours of 5 o'clock and 11 o'clock in the evenings, they have infinite amount of time, but they just don't feel like it. Work is tough. I understand it. It's hard to get yourself motivated, but you're the one making the excuse that I don't have time, and then choosing to watch Netflix or YouTube videos or sit in color or text your friends or play Facebook games. And I have no judgment on people that play games and all that stuff, because I play World of Warcraft. I love to play games online and stuff too, but the writing has to become a priority, and it's up to you to stop making an excuse and make the writing a priority. If you sit down and you say, these are the times that I'm going to write, no one's going to make you do it. It becomes up to you to be the person who does it. And if you want to crush your writing goals, you have to just become the kind of person who sits down and writes when they say they're going to write. And that means not making excuses anymore. And this is, like I said, a little harsher than I like to be, because I like to be nothing but encouraging, but this is just the truth. And it makes me so sad when I see people, and even dear friends of mine, who constantly are making excuses about, well, this story isn't coming together, and I think I did this wrong, and I just don't have time to write, and I'm too tired in this afternoon, and gosh, it's been a really tough week. And it's like, I understand that, but you are choosing to get caught in that story for years and never finish a book. And the worst thing that you could do is get to the end of your life and look back on all these nights and think, what did I do with my time? Yeah, okay, so I watched all these TV shows, or, I did all these puzzles, or I played all these games, but I never sat down and write. And why didn't I do it? Why didn't I finally finish that book? That's on nobody but you, because you made that choice every afternoon. Life is tough. I'm tired a lot too. And I'm about to welcome a new baby into my family, so there is going to be a lot of tired times. I had a son when I was right in the middle of my career, my first child. I had him in 2012. It was tough to get back to writing because I was tired. I was exhausted all the time. But I made myself get back to the writing because it was what I wanted to do. I knew exactly, I was very clear on what I wanted to do with my life. And at some point I had to just stop laying on the excuses of, I'm really tired. And believe me, I have sympathy for those of you that are tired or that do a lot of stuff. But if you want to crush your writing goals, you're going to have to just leave those excuses behind and start realistic. I'm not saying that you need to say, I'm never going to watch TV anymore and I'm going to write from 5 to 11 every night. You don't have to start there, but you can start very small, and you can say, remember those rewards I was talking about? You can get home and say, okay, I'm going to give myself 30 minutes to relax, grab a cup of coffee when I get home. But from 5:30 to 6 every single night, I'm going to do one writing sprint. It's fine to just start there. Let go of the excuses of I'm too tired, and instead say to yourself, I'm just going to get this done, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to commit to it every single day. Those 30 minutes a day could mean eventually thousands and thousands of words, which means that eventually you finish your first novel. So stop with the excuses. Start in a realistic manner. Take small steps to making your dreams come true. And I promise you, you're going to start to see results. Okay, so just as a recap, know exactly and get very clear on what you want. Set realistic goals with the time you have. Create a plan that you decide when and where you're going to write. Stay focused even when it gets hard, and let go of those excuses. Stop making excuses for yourself and just get it done. That is how you're going to change your life and crush your writing goals. All right, that is all I have for you today. If you have any questions or you want to comment on this, I would love to hear your comments down below. If you've been struggling with this, if there's one part of this that you do struggle with, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to try to help you through it. Also, if you do want a program that is going to help you learn how to set those realistic goals, really examine your vision for your life, and go through the process of making a plan that is going to change your life, I have a course that is open right now. If you're watching this when it comes out, registration has just opened for my HB90 method course, which is a course that basically walks you through all of these steps of how to set goals for your life that really are going to lead you towards your ideal vision, and then helps teach you how to actually go about achieving those in a way that relieve stress from your life rather than adding stress. And so if you're interested in that, the link to join will be down below. I would love for you to enroll. This course only opens a few times a year, but I would so love to have you. I've already had over 100 students in this course since it opened towards the end of last year, and people are saying that it's really changing their lives. They've gotten more done in a single quarter than they did the entire year before. So I would love to help you make those changes in your life as well if you would like to join me. The course is only open until March 21st, and then the doors will close, and that course will take place over that following weekend. And don't worry if you can't attend live. It will be, once you buy it, you've got access to it forever. So you can go through it over and over again every quarter. I've got lots of students that took it in December that are going to join us again for the March course, and they get to do it again for free every single quarter to set their goals every 90 days. So I would love to have you in the HB90. If any of these tips resonated with you today, it might be a good course for you. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, I would love to have you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified whenever a new video comes up from Heart Breathings. I'd also love for you to like this video if you have enjoyed the tips that I've given you today, so that other people will know that it's a good video and so that I'll know that you've enjoyed this content. And I will talk to you guys in the comments and see you in my next one. Bye.